Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever else, my friends. This is your host, Madman, and this is more Fear versus Mandate. So, we're back here in the sewer of reality, and we're going to go ahead and kill whatever we see down here.
What the? Another person? I'm so surprised.
They say what the, like they're not expecting me. Like, I've killed however many of these guys coming up to this point. I mean, come on, man. Oh, you can kill them during the grenade animation in this. Well, that's nice.
That's nice of the developers to include that little Easter egg. Oh, whoops, we almost got shot in the face. Let's not do that again.
Using dual pistols because it's fun, even though they're not ideal for this particular section of the game. Also, this section fucking sucks, straight up. I remember this. It's the pipe room, I'll call it. Okay, nice grenade throw, man. Good for you. I give you an A for effort. The problem is, they flood this room in a second with a bunch of much more difficult guys, unless I'm mistaking this for another room, which is entirely possible, because I haven't played this game in a couple of years.
Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You may not remember me from our previous playthroughs of this game where I didn't record myself and didn't do any commentary. In those playthroughs, there was a room with pipes that had a bunch of really nasty guys in it, and it sort of scarred us mentally because we died for about 2 hours.
This is me working through my fear trauma, guys. Work through it with me. Work through my fear trauma with me. Hold my hand, please.
Okay. Is that all of you fucks? Are there any more? No. Alright. For now, anyway. Yeah, this is not the right room. There's a room that looks similar to this. It's like a power generator room. And they send these fucking goons at you. And these goons are like these guys in physical appearance, but they have like triple the health, and they have rocket launchers. They're very annoying. You know, it's like the game spawns your sort of your elementary school bullies, and it gives the teachers a blindness debuff, and then they steal your hat and throw it around, or whatever the fuck the bullies did to you. And the teachers don't give a shit. It's like, well, they're not hitting him. They're not, like, physically hitting him. Like, that's, like, the only thing that really matters. Do you have another cigarette? I fucking hate this job. I'm getting paid nothing to do this. Hi, I wanted to be a mom, but I fucked around too much in my 20s and early 30s, so now I get my surrogate mom jollies off by pretending to be a mom to a bunch of school children. No man will date me because I have a bunch of tattoos that I got in my 20s when I was basically a hoe. And now, my recourse to saving my life is pretending to be a mom to dozens of children, but I actually just ignore them and take extra smoke breaks. I imagine that's what's common in the States. Up here in Leafland, where I'm from.
Oh god, he's doxing himself. He's from Canada. We only have to sort through 40 million people and we'll find out who he is. Quick! Quick, get the hackers on it.
Anyway, you guys already know who I am. I've been here before. Come on. It's me. It's your bro. Anyway, my point is just, you know, I'm hoping that most of you didn't experience that, but probably you did at some point, at some level of schooling. It's not an uncommon thing, but up here in Leafland, we do pay our teachers more. We do have a better education budget. So, you know, I'd like to think the quality of education we have up here that I've experienced, which is pretty good, is due to that, but it could be due to other things. You know, I don't want to, I'm talking out my ass if I try to, you know, preach to you about, like, it's because we have the high taxes and the socialism like the Nordic countries do. Like that, I don't know. I don't know if that's the reason. Maybe it is. I hope it is, because, you know, that's our policy. So I hope our policy's working. You know, I'm not some kind of pessimist. Like, I hope the country I live in sucks. And if I criticize it and I'm right about that, I would rather be right than to be wrong and live in a better place. Like, that is the dumbest fucking attitude. If you're like some kind of cultural critic type person, if you're culturally critically minded or whatever, and you hope you're right at the expense of everyone else in your country, you're a fucking flaming piece of shit that needs to be stomped out, where you're working for somebody else and you don't even know it. That's the thing, too. I wanted to mention this in a bunch of other videos, but I never got the chance, and I've just given myself a prompt to do so. Here's what I want to talk about. Here's what I'll rant about for this, but I'll try to actually play the game while I rant. We're going to try to do two things at once. We're going to try to multitask. It's an arcane art that only the most mentally damaged can accomplish.
Heavy armor.
Oh, for fuck's sake. See, they're already interrupting me. Anyway, what I was going to say is, whether or not you, you think that you hold a certain view about a topic, let's say. Let's say it's political to make things simple, because that's an easy example, for, both for you and for me as well, just talking about this. Let's say that you... Shit.
The sewer saved me yet again.
Let's say for the sake of argument that you support a certain position. Jesus Christ. And, you know, you think, oh, I support this position. You know, I behave in a way that supports this viewpoint because that's the viewpoint I genuinely have. It's like, well, good for you. You should endeavor to reflect what your genuine inclinations are, because that's a reflection of your DNA. And whether we live in a society that has some sort of crypto-eugenic, subtle eugenics policy in place, or whether we live in one that doesn't, that's a good strategy in either case, because your genuine opinion, your like being honest, being truthful is always the best option, because at the very least you're showing yourself what you believe in, which you will hide from yourself in a lot of cases due to social pressures and things like that. Habits that you've had to adopt to fit in. Reminds me of that American Psycho line where he's just like, I want to fit in. It's like, bro, you're an Archon that's like heavily in need of help, bro. Like, you need to fucking, you know, go to a therapist or a priest, one of those two people. Anyway, if you have opinions that you think you're supporting, you need to recognize that your speech, which has been conflated with action in a way that is frustrating, and it makes me anxious to talk about what I'm about to talk about, because people are like, you know, speech ain't action, I ain't punching someone in the face. It's like, well, no, you're not. You know, if you insult someone, if they're a resilient, mature person, and that's a big if, then they're gonna laugh it off. You're gonna be like, you just busted my balls, Tony. Yeah, you call me a fucking F.A.G. Yeah, whatever. You know, you're one too. Hey, let's go get some fucking gabagool. Like, that's fine. I actually, you know, I appreciate a lot of cultures that do things that way, because they sort of rip that stuff out into the open and make it, they reduce its power. It's a way of dampening linguistic curses and spells, is just make everybody really thick-skinned to them. That's an excellent strategy. It's really good, genuinely. I'm envious of a lot of cultures that do that, because Canadian culture doesn't. What we do up here, one of the things that I don't like is we're sort of addicted to this Victorian prudish politeness where, you know, we don't, at least in the elites or the upper middle class to the elite sort of tier, that sort of sector, there's an expectation of you know,
Oh, I'll insult you by sacrificing 5,000 slaves under the table. I won't do it to your face. Have another glass of brandy.
like that British virus has kind of persisted, you know, and for obvious reasons, because we're a British colony. But again, the colonies were where the Brits sent their worst people. So when you look at Canada and Australia, Australia is where the prisoners went, and Canada is where what were called remittance men were sent. And a remittance man is a very strange, specific term, and basically what it means, I'll translate it for you. It means a spoiled rich person's spoiled son who has wasted a bunch of their family money and needs to go look at some fir trees and see a deer and be shocked into realizing, my God, the estate in Brampton County isn't actually what the whole world looks like. My stars! Like that's what, you know, Canadians are. We're sort of like the descendants of the white part of Canadian society is descended from, in part, those remittance men. Just, you know, some proportion is, you know, it's not a majority by any stretch, but that's a part of our culture. And the reason I mention it is because the British influence, persists in sort of the upper classes. If you talk to your average Canadian, they're not much different from your average American. Not just because of American culture bleeding into Canada, but because your average person is your average person in the West. They're going to have similar values. They're going to be, they're going to be crass to a degree. They're going to have a job. They're going to be normal, fucking salt of the earth, good people. And anyway, my point with this is, if you have a certain belief and you think you're expressing it through your actions, there's a good chance that you're not expressing it through your speech. You may be aware of what you're doing, but what you're saying probably doesn't totally reflect what your thoughts and opinions actually are. And there's a chilling effect that comes from censorship that contributes to this. But the problem is when you're polite about something in one context, like when you're visiting your 90-year-old grandma, and you don't talk about Epstein Island, for example, because it's like, what's the point? Fuck. I meant to activate my flashlight. What a goof. If you have a filter, and we all have many filters, the Belgian glass blower metaphor to use instead would be lenses. You have different lenses through which you view the world. You have different lenses through which you filter your thoughts and actions and speech. Obviously, you're not going to talk to your 99-year-old grandma about Epstein Island. You're going to say, "Hey, Grandma, were you able to eat today? Oh, you were? Oh, that's great. Good for you for eating food." And if you're actually an empathetic person, you'll genuinely be happy. You'll be like, "Oh my God, Grandma got to eat today. She's 99. She shouldn't have existed for the last 60 years. She was supposed to die at age 30. That's when about these caveman bodies' original expiry date is about age 30. My God, she made it to triple the expiry date. P.S. triple. Good for you, Grandma. You ate today. That's like if you're 99, eating 3 meals in a day would be like climbing Mount Everest. Try living as a 99-year-old and tell me that's not the case. I have a family member who works in elder care, and let me tell you, if you ever get that old and you're able to just eat food, like a good, diverse 3 meals that gives you the nutrients you need, digestion fucking hurts. Eating, nothing tastes like anything. It's like being in hell. If you're able to eat when you're that age, that's a fucking achievement. So my point is, you wouldn't talk to a person in that situation about fucking Epstein Island, because why would they want to hear that? They'd want to hear good for you for eating. They'd be like, my God, it is worth it being here for another day. So it's about context in one sense. But the problem is, if you abdicate or sacrifice too much of your genuine opinions, too much of your genuine self, your genuine beliefs, whatever you want to call it, to politeness and to performance, what will gradually happen is that your sense of self will erode and you will become nothing but a scrubbing board that Victorian women would use to grind clothes against to rub the dirt out. You will, in a sense, become this kind of linguistic purification slave, where everything you're saying and the subsequently, eventually, the actions that you take will take on the character of what you say. You will become a thrall or a golem or a drone for the people around you, even if they're people you love, and they don't intend to make you this. It's not their intent for you to become this. But if you're a sensitive person, if you're an autistic person, empathetic person, whatever, there's a chance that you can fall into this trap. And it's a trap you don't want to fall into because it will feel right, in a sense, to be there. Because you'll be sacrificing a lot of things, but you'll feel really good because you're helping out people you love. And, personally, I have to admit, I fell into that trap for a while. It's not a good idea to admit things on YouTube either. I had a friend of mine allegorically tell me this recently where he was like, remember this one chick who told this story she shouldn't have told and too many people heard it and it was kind of embarrassing? It's like, well, yeah, sure, but this is a completely different case. Allegories are not always one-to-one. There are contexts and situations to talk about this type of shit, and I feel like an obscure YouTube channel that only 2 people watch is a pretty safe bet. And I've given enough disclaimers and warnings that I'm usually just sort of unhinged and ranting on these channels. And if someone wants to dox me and try to ruin my life, good luck. It's already ruined. I did it for you. I ruined it far worse than you ever could. So, batter up. Hit me with everything you got. I fucking dare you. There's no torture you could inflict on me that fate has not already inflicted on me prior to your existence or your involvement in my life. Fate has fucked me harder than you will ever fuck me or anybody. So, it is what it is. To indulge in a sort of doomerism, which is not a good thing. It is what it is useful when you're going through tough shit that is going to benefit you, but being an it is what it is person all the time is not good for you. Anyway, my point is, I'm talking about some weird shit. But basically, it's easy to fall into this trap if you have a particular type of family around you or a group of loved ones that are genuinely good people, but they have this kind of mentality about expression. And there's some truth to it. There's some utility to it. There is a good sliver of it where it's like, well, you shouldn't, again, don't talk to your grandma about Epstein Island. Like that's true. That's absolutely true. But the extreme of it is, conceal your entire sense of self at the expense of your mental health in order to placate or ingratiate or basically make people feel more comfortable around you. You should be making people feel comfortable around you in social situations. If you go to a party, you shouldn't be a douche. You should be a decent person, obviously. I know I'm stating the obvious here, but in the context of this, it's important. Oh, who's this guy? I can't even fucking begin to read that. It's an alien text. We must decipher it. Might take decades. With AI, it's like, I deciphered it in 0.3 seconds. 1,000 decipherer jobs have now been deleted. They are now dead. I have suicided them. They are not functional for the system. That's not a what? DNPOC? Something ZPOC? Something ZPOC. DZPOC? Fuck, that's my best attempt, guys. Anyway, obviously you have to maintain social niceties in order to exist among other people. That's not what I'm not saying give that up. What I'm saying is don't let that behavior, if you're an autistic obsessive person who gets fixated on your own behavior patterns, that behavior can bleed into your everyday life when it doesn't need to be applied. Like you can be at a mall or whatever, and you're still behaving like you're at a family dinner, which is not a good thing. Yeah, I know, dude. I've seen the cutscene. That's not a good thing. You need to modulate your behavior in such a way that you're not abusing your ability to perform. And that's a very complex and kind of strange thing to talk about, but I think it's worth mentioning, even if it's just for my own benefit. Sometimes I rewatch these videos. This is, in effect, a lot of the time it's just me doing kind of a vocal journal exercise. But I'm putting it up here because I think there might be a few people who might benefit from hearing it. That's why I'm putting it up here. That's why I'm putting myself out there. Because there might be some of you who are going through similar things who might benefit from what I'm thinking about or what I'm saying. And if that's not the case, who cares? Like, it's a zero-sum game. There's really no risk to me uploading this. I mean, like everybody's internet history is basically public at this point. Like, if you think that the powers that be don't know what you do online, you're asleep. You're not asleep. You're in denial. Everybody's browsing habits and interests are already archived. They're already in the Akashic records or whatever the fuck. Don't delude yourself by thinking that that's not the case. Anyway, a person like me, I'm an experimenter. I like to do weird, crazy shit and just see what happens. But you can't do that in every context, because if every part of life was an experiment, life would be a chaotic mess. You have to have a container for the experiment. You have to have context. You have to have, you have to have a fume hood if you're going to be burning volatile chemicals, for example. Like, these measures are important. And to me, YouTube, this channel in particular, is like a chemical container for my sort of video journal, audio journal type shit. It's a way to record things where I can involve at least a few other people, and then I feel like the act of recording is, it's worth doing, because it's not just me talking to myself, which is weird in any sense. I mean, we don't consider it weird when we write journals, but if you're doing it, vocally like I am, it's a bit weirder. That's true for sure. But anyway.
Okay, we're in another office building. Ooh, what could be around the corner?
Who knows?
Whoa, shit. That's a trap.
They want you to hit that electrical box and then blow yourself up, but I didn't do it. My hands are too deft. My touch is light as a feather or hard as an anvil. Depends on the context. It's always dependent on the context.
Anyway, the reason I brought this up 500,000 years ago was I was talking about expressing yourself, and what I wanted to say was basically what you say and how you say it, even if it's performative and, for a certain context only, like for your grandma. It influences you because you can hear yourself speak, which is not something that a lot of people consider. Like, whenever you talk, you're actually listening to yourself. Like, whenever you speak, you can hear yourself speaking. Again, it sounds ridiculously obvious, because it is, but the reason I emphasize it is your mind is constantly recording things, and unless you're some kind of autismo who can, photographically or if you have a photographic memory, for example, which most of us don't, our brains rightly discard, 85% of whatever we're imbibing through our senses, because it's not relevant in that particular moment. But if you're hearing yourself speak, you are hearing a voice that is yours talking about things in a particular way. And when you're being polite, you can't, if you have to be polite a lot, like, let's say you live in a situation where you have to put on a facade of politeness constantly, it is actually easy to fall into that facade and think that it's you without knowing it. Like, you can think that, oh, I am actually this person. I'm comfortable speaking and acting this way because I've done it so much. Like, and again, it's nobody's fault that this happened. It's not even your fault. It's a fault of the spacesuit you're in and its sensory machinery having certain inherent quirks or flaws. And again, one man's flaw is another man's advantage, right? Like, there are people who live off of this type of shit, like fucking people who write advertisements. Like, they live off of being able to communicate in a way that is tailored to a particular audience. Whoa.
Guys, we've been attacked for trying to red pill you yet again. I'm so sorry. The attacks are relentless. I can't stop them.
We're still pistol maxing. This is pretty good.
I only need dual pistols and I can take on the whole clone army. Just give me one gun for each hand. Hell yeah, boy.
Alright, let's pop a med kit here. Whoa! Okay, the music has stopped, indicating that we've killed them all. Convenient. Anyway, my advice to everybody who has, any experience with anything like this, like if you find that you don't really feel like you are being yourself, and the way you behave reminds you of the way you behave in certain contexts or during certain events or for certain people, that's what's happened. Is you've just, it's not a big deal. You've overlapped contextual behaviors. It's not that you have like two different personalities and, oh my God, I'm different people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you get into the habit of behaving a certain way for certain people in certain contexts, it can overlap your genuine self, your genuine way of being you. And again, there's nobody to blame. Don't get into that fucking rabbit hole, blaming people. That does literally nothing. The way to confront this issue, if you find yourself embedded in it, is to say, okay, I've been fucking up. It doesn't matter who's to blame. What matters is how do I fix it? And how you fix it is you slowly start introducing parts of your real self and your real opinions into conversation so you don't shock people. Because the worst thing you can do is be like, I'll just be me 100% now instead of 40%. And it's like, no, people will freak out and think that you're fucked up. You can't do that. You have to ease people into it that are used to you behaving in a way that doesn't reflect who you are. Unfortunately, it's a grueling process, but if you're patient, you can accomplish this without having to, concern people around you who think you're on PCP or something. It's like, no, this is actually just me. I've just been buried in myself, as a result of various factors. And again, if you come up abruptly and do this, they'll blame themselves because most people won't understand what's happening. They'll just see behaviors. They're not going to read your thoughts. Like they're just going to see you behaving differently and hear you saying different things and go, what the fuck? This isn't the same person. It's like, no, this is the same person. This has been me the whole fucking time. I've just kept it from you for a combination of reasons. This really just applies to people that you really care about and your friends, like family and friends. But you're doing it not for them. That's the key. The key is that you're not doing it for those people. You're not doing something again for them. You're not performing. You're saying, this is me, and I hope that, you're able to deal with this, but if you're not, I can't put on the facade anymore in this particular context. And again, it's not to say like, oh, now I'm going to be an asshole everywhere I go. That's not my point. My point is that, if you've been excessively using contextual behaviors to the point where they have come to define your sense of yourself, you have to find a way to kind of you have to find a way to subtly admit that. Indirectly, that's the word I was looking for. You have to find a way to indirectly admit that gradually to the people around you so that they can adapt to the change at their own pace, because they're not you and they're not going to be privy to your struggles, even if you were to sit them down and describe those struggles to them, which would be horribly awkward, probably ineffective, and counterintuitive, because then they would overreact to your new way of behaving. They'd get neurotic. Anybody would if you sat them down and said, I've been pretending this whole time. This is really me. This is the real me. Then they're going to freak out and be like, oh my God, am I making him, am I making her, am I making them behave weirdly? And it's like, no, it's not your fault. The point is not to blame anybody. The point is just to gradually be yourself. And again, this is very weird, specific advice for like probably no one but me, but it's something worth recording anyway. Because I feel like there are a lot of people who do this in their lives and they don't realize what they're sacrificing, because it's not just like social or emotional effort that you're expending to overlap too much your social self and your actual self. It's not just like emotional and social energy. It's you. Like, it's the actual core of yourself, which is made up of language. Like, the illusion of having a consciousness or a self is created through language. It's created by language. It's created of language. If you're a mathematician, some of that language is mathematic. I'm talking about languages in a broader sense. They're information systems. So if your system has been taxed because you've expended all this energy and you didn't even know you were doing it, obviously the first step is being aware of it. But after you've become aware of it, the next step is, well, I've got to accept that I've been doing it. That can be a long step or it can be a quick one. And then finally after that, it's like, okay, what do I do about this? Well, what you don't want to do is something radical or insane. You don't want to do something that feels like a quick fix. You want to be gradual about it.
Sure as hell didn't want another missing man. You had us worried there, sir. On your back.
I got you covered.
You had us worried there, madman. We got you covered.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Sorry I'm such a clown.
Oh, shit. Is there a guy behind here? Oh, you didn't even come up that far. What a coward.
Oh, you've been killed by the electrical box. I didn't even do anything.
It wasn't murder. I just put a bear trap on their head and then told them how to unlock it, and they didn't do it.
It's the Saw murder defense.
I just shot an electrical box that happened to be near him. I mean, he was just there. They were just there.
Imagine like a police officer coming in here and like in this video game, and he's like, "What the fuck? What did you do to these people?" It's like, I don't know. I was just out shooting electrical boxes like I usually do at 3 a.m. I mean, that's what I do. I shoot electrical boxes just for fun. It's like a cathartic outlet for me. It's like my therapist said it would help my mental health, so that's what I do. And the officer's like, "All right, you just play safe." doesn't give me a ticket. He gives me a ticket for urban property destruction for the electrical box. Holy shit. That would be fucking funny.
Alright, we're in the red brick maze. Oh, this is like that one brick screensaver from
Windows 98. None of you know what I'm talking about, do you? My god, I need to get alive. I'm gonna smash all these wine bottles. In frustration. Okay, is there any ammo in here? No. Alright, I'm detecting a spooky scene, because there's this ominous door that's lit by a single fluorescent light. By the way, fluorescent lights cause ADHD. There's a study from the fucking 60s or 70s, I want to say, and they have a room full of kids with attention deficit disorders, and it's a room with the old fluorescent lights. They've improved them since, so they're not all bad, but they're not great. But when they put in the new bulbs, they didn't change anything else about the class. Nothing changed in the children's diet or whatever. It pans back, like they cut to the footage of the kids after the lights are changed. They're all sitting quietly. It's the fucking light frequency, man. I mean, it matters a lot more than you think it does.
Everywhere. We don't want you walking into a crossfire.
That's why vitamin D matters too, because... Oh shit, okay, this matters, we gotta ditch this gun. Woo! Alright, this is a good way to end the video here at this transition. Thank you for watching. I hope some part of this was in some way useful to someone. If not, again, you know, this is sort of my personal video vlog therapy diary thing, so, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I'm going through some stuff. Who isn't? I'm just enough of a narcissist and an egotist that I need to involve at least a couple other people in the process to make it feel real. If it's just me, I just feel like I'm talking to myself in a vacuum. You know, and who wants to do that? Anyway, I do hope all of you are doing well. We're in the dregs of winter. Take your vitamin D, especially if you're up here in Leafland. It's a bleak, desolate place. It's almost like we're a colony on Titan, or some moon that we're terraforming. And you really got to take your vitamin D because the sun is, for the most part, very far away. So, be mindful of that. Drink your water, take your vitamin D, hug a loved one. They're struggling as much as you are. They're probably just not telling you about it because they love you and they don't want to burden you with it. There's some poignant poet or philosopher who said something like, "Don't get angry at people willy-nilly because everyone is dealing with silent struggles that they're not telling you about." And I find that useful as a way of maintaining my sense of empathy. I hope you find it useful too. I do love you guys. We're all part of the same shit soup. And you know what? It's not all bad. At least it's warm in here. Anyway, guys, with all that said, I will bid you adieu by saying, of course, as always,
Peace out, guys.